Well, hello, friends. Welcome to Tolerating Toxic. It is a Thursday afternoon. It's the first week of summer. I hope you guys are having a wonderful summer so far. Maybe you're on, maybe you're off. Tell me where you're from. But also, if I am new to you, I want you to tell me. I'm not sure how many new friends we have, or if you guys are my ride or dies who are always around, who just happen to open those emails when I send out those blasts, and you saw this on email or social media and you were like, oh my gosh, she is preaching to me. I need to get this in my brain because I'm on the struggle bus. So tell me if that's you. So this is interesting. I see my friend Rebecca Bott is on here from South Carolina, and I was talking to her about some content that I create. She's a dear friend and a very, very smart business owner. And so we often talk about our issues that we're having. We've walked each other through a lot of things. And I brought up this topic and she said, I don't know, it sounds kind of negative. And I said, well, you know what? Let me test it. Let me throw it out there and just see if it's of interest, because I always want to bring positivity, encouragement, and not just a gripe and moan session. This is not ever anything that I would teach you guys. I always want to teach you to level up. But the brutal facts, the reality is that I know that as early education leaders, you all are dealing with toxic behavior. And right before, if you registered earlier for this, right before I jumped on, I had my VA send out an email that had a link to the worksheet. There's just a very simple worksheet. I did drop the link again in the chat just now. And then as we're watching, I'll have a slide that'll come up that'll have a QR code. I mean, it's a very simple, and I can tell you exactly what it is. So if you don't have time to print or you don't want to print, basically take a piece of paper and draw it like half it and half again. A line down the middle and a line across. So I'm super excited to be teaching this to you all, because I think that if we don't get this right, we are not ever going to be able to move out of this crisis. So I'm going to ask you to DSD. I'm going to ask you to do something different. And I'm going to ask you also to do some hard things. And I hope that you are listening to this with your door closed. And I hope that you're able to focus, because if you're not focused, if you're like, I'm going to send the replay, right? So if you are focused and you've got people coming in your office right now, I would just shut me off and then watch the replay. Because if you really want to get some traction, this is where you're going to get traction. So I was saying I tested this topic and we had nearly 400 people register for this webinar. So it tells me that there's something not right out there. And this is what I know about ECE. There's a culture crisis. We talk all day about dysregulated children, but nobody wants to talk about the dysregulated adults. And I believe from my core that the reason that we avoid conflict, and it is quietly crippling our team. And so I want to really, really, really help you understand that accountability and alignment is important in order to pull things back together. So I hope you guys are here to listen and get what you came for, because I will tell you this: your culture is a combination of what you create and what you tolerate. And what you are tolerating is speaking louder than what you teach. It's just like with your children. So you can't, it's not, do as I do, not as I say. You cannot do that with grown-ups either. So I want to encourage you that if you're dealing with toxic behavior, you may be tolerating some things, and you may have been afraid to address some things on how to turn that around. And I want to tell you this: I am not coming to you in theory. I am coming to you as a longtime business owner. I've had my business nearly 3 decades. And if you are leading since COVID, the world is a very, very, very different place. Would you guys agree? Just give me like an amen in the chat. It's very, very different. And if you are learning from someone who, as Brene Brown would say, is not in the trenches getting your tail kicked, I'm not interested in your feedback. And I want to tell you this right now. I feel like the last probably 18 months, the last 6 months have been better. But prior to that, it felt like a masterclass in surrendering what I can't control And I looked back on the things that I tolerated, not just on my teaching team, but on my leadership team, that I'm embarrassed to even say that I tolerated those things. But I'm going to tell you kind of what I tolerated. I'm going to tell you why I think I tolerated, and I'm going to tell you what I would have done differently and how I've changed and made things better. And I can tell you now, my team is up leveled, and I can blame it all on other people, all on the toxic people. But I, in order to heal from it, had to realize what role I played in it. So I'm going to tell you, if you have toxicity on your team, it's not just other people. It's not just them. There may be some heart checks that I want you to really consider. What is your role in helping manage around it? I'm going to give you some pathways to help coach people up or to help coach people out. Okay. So this is going to be a hard conversation, and I want to encourage you, right? It's heavier. It's not just hey, let me give you three tricks and tools and tips and walk away. It's heavier stuff. So, but I want you to think about this. What is the toll on your soul that having toxic leadership is doing in your heart and in your soul and in your life and in your business? Because I promise you, if you care about what you do, it's carrying over into your life and into your family. And, I hope you have a friend like Rebecca. I mean, I felt like my broken record with Rebecca was like, oh my gosh, she's doing it again. I can't believe she's doing it again. And I didn't address it. So the toll that it took on my soul was more than I bargained for. And, some of you who follow me or who are friends, may know that last year, my cousin, my best friend in my life, Betsy, was diagnosed with ALS, and that's a terminal, not treatable disease. And she only made it 7 months. It was horrific. So that just takes a toll on your soul anyway. So while that was happening, I was going through a lot of turmoil in my leadership team. I had a longtime leader who for about 13-ish years was great until she wasn't. And because I was dealing with a lot, I was ignoring a lot of things. And so I didn't address some things out of fear. And I'm going to break down for you what those are. But the details are almost embarrassing. Yelling in meetings, quiet quitting and forgetting, not following up with customers, treating our team members way outside of our values, not okay. But this person was a high performer. And that's what makes this even harder. Like sometimes you'll look at, okay, I'm going to address my C team. I'm going to identify who's on my C team, and I'm going to decide to coach them up or coach them out. And that's a great strategy. But what if your toxic person is one of your highest performers that you need, that may have a lot of systems that everyone loves? That's what I was dealing with. And I knew that coaching her out or letting her go was going to cause a lot of trauma and a lot of drama. And so you may be in that situation. Maybe it's a C team player, but maybe it's someone who was once an A team player or who is disguised as an A team player, right? That has somehow wiggled his or her way into hijacking your happy. So let's take a look at this. I want to welcome you to a zone that often may not like to go to. This, my friends, is called the discomfort zone. And I want to tell you this: you cannot fix, but you will not face. And you are signed up for this training today because you have someone who is hijacking your happy. So I'm inviting you into the discomfort zone. And I would love for everyone to just pop in and say, yes, I understand. I'm going to have to get uncomfortable in order to do some things. So just tell me, yes, amen, whatever you want. I see a lot of amen corners over here. So just tell me, are you ready to get uncomfortable? For those of you who were not able to download that link, I tested the link. It worked prior to hopping on, so I'm not sure what was happening. But if you did not get that link, again, I'm going to pop it into the chat one more time. If you are at your computer, you can go ahead and snag it. If not, scan it with your phone. Or, as I said, just take a piece of paper out. I want you to have a plan to walk away with today and just divide it half and then half again. So That is where we're going with that. So if I am new to you, my name is Beth Cannon. I am a keynote speaker. 95% of the work I do is in early education. I do leadership retreats, team building, and then I also lead a group training program called Learn to Lead. It's a virtual leadership course. So if you are looking for deeper support in your leadership and you need this for your team, make sure that you reach out to me. We'll give you some information about that later. But this is what I do. The broken record conversation that I have all the time is I have no idea what happened to my team. They were all fine until they weren't. I have no idea who the culprit is, but I don't want to go to work. Our staff meetings are awful. The tension is awful. And I dread going to work and I dread coming home. And I do not know what has happened to my team. So Learn to Lead will help with that. It's about how to lead yourself, your staff, and your school. So what I'm going to teach today is a section of, this is actually brand new content, but a section of what we teach is how to lead your team, how to lead your staff, and what that looks like. So before we go blaming other people, though, I want to make sure that you hear my heart on this. Before we blame other people, have you been crystal clear in your expectations? Meaning that, do you have systems of delegation to be clear on why they are doing it, how they are supposed to be doing it, where they're supposed to be doing it, who owns it, when is it due, and what does success look like? Most people I talk to, and I see Jeanette, I see that you're on here as well. Jeanette, we talked about, like, I know you're looking at, do I coach this person up or do I coach this person out? This is what you need to look at. If you have been clear on all of these things, then you can say, okay, it's a them problem. I've done all that I can do to help support them. They know what success looks like. I've been crystal clear. And let me just say this. Crystal clear is not handing people your trapper keeper and thinking that you trained them. That is not. Now, manuals to modules is a story for another time. If you're still doing that, send me a message and I can send you some resources on how to convert your manual to module. You cannot give people a manual and think they read it. That's not training. That's covering yourself to make sure someone signed off on your policies. That is not training. So if you're frustrated that your people aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, I want to ask you, is it you? Are you the problem? Is it you? Okay. So, and then here's another thing. Does the leadership team model the level of work ethic and integrity expected from the team? If you're here, I'm assuming that you're probably a leader. Cassandra, you say you're currently working on a write-up now. Okay. Hopefully we're going to give you some language around what that write-up looks like. So Cassandra, tell me, are you coaching this person up or are you coaching this person out? Because this is what I think of as a write-up. I think of it, a write-up, as your documentation for your unemployment claim. Okay. It's your documentation for your unemployment claim. Having done this almost 3 decades, as I said, very rarely can you turn that rig around. There are people who have a massive come to Jesus of self-awareness. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, forgive me for my wicked ways. I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to show up tomorrow. I'm a new person. You are going to see a new person tomorrow. Rarely happens, because in order for someone to change, there has to be some deep, like soul work. They have to really hate, and I say hate's a strong word. They have to hate who they are in order to become the next level of who they want to be. So keep that in mind before we begin to blame. Because I'm going to ask you this: what if every problem is a leadership problem? You thought I was going to come on here and talk to you about your people. I want to address you first. And again, I've lived it. I'm not judging. I've lived it. A lot of the things, when I would be frustrated, I would have to go back and say, okay, you didn't get that done. What was your understanding of the due date on that? And instead of, oh, well, I didn't prioritize it. Well, why did you not prioritize it? Well, you didn't tell me when it was due. Well, when I give you something to do, I think you should do it. Well, you didn't tell me when and how, and all of those things. So keep that in mind. Is it a leadership problem? Karen, oh, hey, Karen, I love that. It's manuals to modules has changed your life. All that Karen did was take a simple course and convert that paper manual into online modules. So an online module is just like this, like webinar style training, right? That's all that is. So for you, See the problem with you. Like Jeanette, I appreciate your clarity on this, right? Jeanette is a friend that we were in a mastermind program together, and we met. And Jeanette owns a similar business to mine out in California, and so she's like, "Oh my gosh, this person's driving me crazy." And I'm like, "Jeanette, is it a you like?" Does she understand what she needs to be doing, or do we need to go back? So it's not just toxic because someone doesn't do what you tell them to do when you tell them to do it. Sometimes we need to go back and do some more training. Maybe it's not a heart issue. When I think toxic is a heart issue. When the people who are with you don't have your best interest in mind. And I will tell you this, you deserve a team who loves you. You deserve a team who cares about you. And I think that that's important for you to be clear on that. I'm not saying you have to be besties with everyone that you work with, but there has to be this mutual respect, or they're not your people. And most of you are working in small childcare centers, which is like a little microcosm of your world. And so I want to welcome you guys. You are leaders. This particular training, okay, it's not just another culture wake-up call. This is what we're going to do. We're going to expose the hidden way that toxic culture is creeping in. I want to equip you with some real tools to confront it. And then I'm going to give you a framework called BRAVE. I want to empower you to really lead those conversations. They're going to change everything. But before we do that and dive in, I want you to take a look at like what's happened to the ECE workforce. And you know what is interesting? As soon as I said, maybe this is a you problem. Maybe it's not a problem. 5 people just left the webinar. So if you're still here, I think that's important because this is self-awareness. You are not going to change the culture of your school unless you're willing to expand your mind and look to see what's different. So if you're here for truth, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to tell you what's happened to the workforce. There's 4 different generations. You got your boomers, your Gen X, your Gen Z, and your millennials. If you are a baby boomer or a Gen X, give me a yes in the chat. Tell me your generation, or just do this. Tell me your generation in the chat. Baby boomer, Gen X, millennial, or Gen Z. I graduated from college in 1992. So I'm right in the middle of Gen X. Okay. And for a teaching certificate, I was going to education courses. And they said, hey, in 1990, there was a new bill that said that created this thing called 504. If you know what 504 is, it's where you are, where people get special accommodations that aren't like severely disabled. So it's an ADA classification, and then really anything could be considered a hindrance or disability, like ADHD, OCD. So all of those things became, now we had to start learning those as teachers. So when I was in high school, it wasn't a thing. When I started teaching high school, the next year, it was a thing. And in 1994, it became a law to where you had to give accommodations. And it wasn't just for a learning, like a learning disability, it was for learning differences. And so what happened is the world had to change and accommodate based on the way that brains work differently, which I think was a really good thing. I'm not jamming on that. But this taught an entire generation, millennials, I'm looking at you, this taught an entire generation that maybe the world should accommodate me. In school, yes, in school. It's absolutely so important. And it was in the 504 thing, it's a good thing. Like, hear my heart, I am an educator. The 504 is a good thing. And being an adult with ADHD, I might not have got sent to boarding school when I was in the 8th grade. So I could have benefited from that service for sure. If you're born in 1967, your Gen X is 65 to 80 or 85-ish. So, okay, that's what happened. Then along comes Gen Z, and Gen Z are entering the workforce during COVID. So there's lots of different ways that you can frame this. But if you're wondering, like, why are we different? I can trace it back to that. And I can see the ways that the way that we now lead. And so because you're leading different people with different experiences, I actually had a grown-up, like a 20-something-year-old come to work for me a couple of years ago, and I hire her and she's not doing her onboarding, and I'm clear on my onboarding, guys. I mean, it is clear, it is automated, it is systematized, and she's not doing it. Does anyone ever have people do that? Like, they come in for onboarding and they don't start doing what they're supposed to do in onboarding? Red flag. So I asked her why, and she goes, oh, I need to send you my doctor's note for my accommodations. And I go, oh my gosh, right? As leaders, we're like, whoo, what are your accommodations? Like, I need to make sure that I can give you reasonable accommodations for that. She types notes on her phone and they say unlimited absences, frequent bathroom breaks as needed, and extended time for assignments. And it wasn't a doctor's note. It was a note she typed on her phone. And so I was like, hey, sis, this is not a doctor's note. I go, was this from what you did when you were in school? Because I recognized the 504 language. And she said, yes. And I go, okay, you're now grown up with a job. Your educational accommodations don't apply. So as your leader, I will not be able to give you unlimited absences. You're working with children. You cannot have on-demand bathroom breaks if you're counted in ratio. And number three, we have a time that we need to get our onboarding done and we can't get it done. So that is what has happened to the workforce, that it does not mean that we cannot hold people accountable. So friends, accountability, it's a two-way street, right? You as the employer is in charge of giving a safe space. Safe. I'm going to come back to safe spaces. But you have to give a safe space, inclusive space where culture matters and they feel connected, and you train them and you develop them so they can thrive. And guess what employees have to do? You ready for it? Show up. Show up, do a good job, and contribute to the positive work environment. That's all they have to do. They just have to show up. So there's two belief systems, right? There's above the line and below the line. This is not in the worksheet. If you're taking notes, I think this is really good content for you to hear, the above the line, below the line thinking. You as leaders, I hope, are thinking above the line, okay? When you're thinking above the line, you see it, you own it, you solve it, you do it. That is accountability. That's above the line thinking. Are you teaching your people to think above the line, or are they going below the line? This is below the line behaviors. And as you're thinking about what your problems are, you can even kind of jot down on when you're doing in your diagnosis zone, you can even jot this down on below the line thinking. It's like, hey, I'm going to wait and see what happens. I'm going to just see if so-and-so is going to do, like maybe someone else will do it and I won't have to. Or tell me what I have to do. Like if you have people who are waiting for you to tell them what to do, you can't do that. Like if you've taught them and trained them, like they need to be able to move on. Oh, here's my favorite. It's not my job. This is your job. When you are working in a child care center, anything, everything, and nothing, that is your job. You may have to change a diaper. You may have to fill in for someone. I'm not going to ask you to do anything illegal or out of bounds, but guess what? We're a team and we need to support our team. It's not going to be a long-term solution, but that's important. Or people who ignore or deny, they point the fingers, they blame, they shame, they play head games. Here's my least favorite, because this one sends me over the edge. I don't have the energy for that. We don't have the option to not have the energy. I mean, one of our core values is we create joyful energy. So above the line or below the line thinking. When you're looking at your toxic behavior, it's below the line thinking. And I want to tell you this, friends, there's a line that you cross in work and life that when you cross it, you cannot come back from it. Okay? Disrespect, dishonesty, lies, outright crazy behavior that is off the chain. You cannot come back from it. And so if your toxic person has gone below the line, you know what that is. Okay? You know what that is. And you need to call it out and you need to clean it up. Because you can't come back from that. Especially if the outburst, the eye rolling, the outright disrespect happens in a staff meeting and other people see it. See, with my leader that I was telling you earlier about, I thought it was just to me. And when it was just to me, I could deal with it because I thought, okay, it's the devil I do know versus the devil I don't know. At least she's trained. At least she's a high performer. I can deal with her drama with me. She's saving it for her mama. I guess I'm her mama. I'm dealing with the drama. It spilled over. And I did not catch those repeated below the lines. And guess what? The bar kept getting lower and lower and lower to what was below the line. So friend, if you are wondering if there's behavior that's gone below the line, you know what it is. And I'm going to ask you to write that in your diagnosis part of your worksheet. Like these are some behaviors that are below the line because it matters. And I want to circle back to psychological safety about what it is and what it's not. because I had another employee who had an outburst. And when one of our other directors called her on it, she goes, "Oh, I thought this was a safe space." No. It's not ever safe for you to verbal vomit on your coworkers. Psychological safety is not a matter of letting go of our standards, making people feel comfortable, and being nice and agreeable or giving unconditional praise. That's not it. It is fostering a climate of respect. And I would go further to say mutual respect and trust and openness, where people can raise concerns and give suggestions without fear of retaliation. But no. It does not mean that you can be outright ugly and rude and disrespectful because you feel like it or because you're struggling with mental health issues and treat people that way at work. It's not okay. So what does toxic behavior look like in childcare? Typically it's this, and I want you guys to tell me what, if you've got a behavior that you want to list, go ahead and jot it down. But it's generally gossip disguised as venting. Gossip disguised as venting. And let me just say this. You need to have a rule on your team that it is you only vent up. You only vent up. You do not vent across and you do not vent down. And I'm talking about the org chart. So like Marnie, I'm so excited to see you on here. I know Marnie is a multi-site owner of a few schools in Florida. And if Marnie has, let's say Marnie, you've got a regional director and then she's got, let's say 3 directors under her. That regional only comes to vent to you. The regional does not vent to her directors and for sure does not vent to teachers. Everything comes to the top because guess what? Marnie is the one who can fix it, right? Oh, I have a thing on my team and I say, excuse me, I'm going to cuss for a minute, but no bitching without pitching, right? Do not complain unless we have some solutions. So, come to me, give me some solutions and let's work that out. Okay. But you only vent up. That's really, really important, is that you make sure that you say that is a rule. Also, passive leaders avoiding hard conversations, staff enabling bad behavior to keep the peace. Last week, we did an Enneagram workshop. If you didn't get the replay, make sure you go back and watch that because we talk a lot about why it is that you're avoiding that conflict. Good people burning out because no one else wants to show up, low ownership and energy. And then your nervous system is just a wreck. Tanya, you have a good question. What about one teacher taking ownership of the entire room and refusing to collaborate with her team? I don't know if it's Tanya or Tanya, but I would say you need to ask her why. Because I'm guessing it's that she has a trust issue. So you're going to coach her around this and you're going to ask her, hey, what is the reason for this? It has come to my attention that I have observed that. Hey, I want to get your perspective on what is happening. Give me some feedback. Maybe it's because she doesn't trust the people that she has. Maybe her nervous system has gotten so deregulated. She's like, it's just easier to do it myself. And she doesn't have the confidence that other people can do it. Or maybe she's not preparing in order to lead anyone into it. But there's got to be a reason why she's doing that. Yeah. And Stacy says supervisors avoiding hard conversations and documenting issues. It's a big one. It's a big one. But there is a big difference in overt and covert toxicity. So let's address that real quick because sometimes it's really obvious. So the overt, meaning like, what you see versus what you feel. Like the overt, you see it. And a lot of times overt starts out at covert until people get the nerve and then they just like lose it on you. Okay. So overt is obvious and loud. You feel the fire immediately. It burns out. It is aggressive body tone language, eye rolling, disrespect, blatant resistance. And I think one of you said it in here in the chat that's not my job or I don't get paid to do that. Gossip that spreads and then just undermining people, right? That's the overt. That's the outright. Everybody knows it. Everybody sees it. But sometimes with women, they tend to be more passive aggressive. And I'm guessing that the majority of your leadership teams are women. So let's take a look at what the covert toxicity is. It's cold, quiet, and corrosive, and it can be even more dangerous because it's tolerated even longer. It's hard to point out, right? It's the passive aggressive comments, the withholding effort or ideas, the nice on the surface, but negative behind your back, The quietly disengaging, that's the quiet quitting, guys. Smiling at you, but spiraling behind the scenes, and then avoiding conflict, collaboration, or accountability. So I want to ask you, when you're looking at your, when you're looking at your sheet, and you're looking at like that stage 1, when you're looking at your worksheet, I want you to say, is it covert or is it overt? And go ahead and jot the names of the people maybe that you need, or maybe just their initials, so no one finds your paper. But is it covert or is it overt? Because the way that you're going to deal with it, it's going to be harder, because covert is sneaky. You're going to have to really be doing what I call paying attention to the tension. Shelby, you said staff feeling as though they're entitled. They don't have to do it due to whatever reason they make up in their head. And that's, again, and that's not okay. So is there a culture of that? And when you say they, this is another thing, because we can say they. Who is the they? Identify your they. Is it one or two, or is it an entire team? So keep in mind that who's the they. Yeah, and Gayan, you said, yeah, sometimes it's both of them. Sometimes it's both of them, right? So culture check. Here is your culture check. Your culture is a reflection of two things: what you create and what you tolerate. I want you to drop in the chat what toxic team behavior you're allowing. A lot of you guys have said things. A lot of you have dropped some things down. So like Latricia, you say asking for the team's thought and then still choosing to do what they wanted to do, making them feel invalid. Yeah. Supervisor controlling every aspect of staff for the day. Christina, we need to get down to that, because if that supervisor wants to truly lead, where is that supervisor not trusting? Is it her problem or is it a team problem, right? Too many absences. Ooh, Marcia, too many absences. Big one, where a lot of us are dealing with it. So I see lots of gossip, lots of talking down, staff being complacent, lack of attendance. Yes. Okay. So again, you're creating it or you're tolerating it, right? And so that matters, not following agreed upon standards. You're creating it or you're tolerating it. So you know what you're tolerating. And I'm telling you, when I hear absences, that's the number one thing. So if you need language about talking about the absences, here's what you have to do. You've got the results that you need them to have. Like the results are, they need to be at work. The action is they need to get there. The belief underneath it, they need to believe why their presence matters. Rather than saying, girl, you missed 5 days again. 5 people called in sick on Monday. All those things are true. But they need to understand what is happening to their school, to their children, to their families, to their coworkers when they are not there. You all have to be a storyteller. If you want to expose the toxicity in your school, you have to be a truth teller. Yes, you're frustrated. Yes, you're out of ratio. Yes, you're having to be in the toddler room again, but you have to address it. You can't just not make light of absences. Absences are a huge deal. The children are dysregulated. The parents are like, where's our teacher today? Your coworker is your wingman. You've left it. When I go into schools and do team building trainings, and guys, I do a ton of leadership retreats and team buildings. This is the number one issue. And they always want to talk to me about, can you talk to them about their absences? So you can talk about it in your staff meeting, but do the ones who are actually missing all the work even realize it? So if you evaluate how many people, if you're like diagnosing it, how many people are in that bubble of these are my people who are on the C team. Okay. Are you addressing it every single time? And it could be like, hey, I want to talk with you about your schedule. I've noticed that, you're supposed to work 40 hours a week. And I've noticed in this month, if you're supposed to be working 120 hours, you only worked 82. So do I need to cut your hours? Do I need to reduce your schedule? Because repeated absences, if you're tolerating it, you're allowing it. If you're not calling it out, you're allowing it. And you can say what you mean without being mean. Like you can say, hey, by the way, the standard is this. Hey, by the way, Terry said staff coming in late, right? They're walking in with their Starbucks being like, sorry, there's traffic around the building. My mobile order wasn't ready. It matters because ratio matters. And so unless there are consequences to what's happening, the behavior will continue to happen. So your culture is a combination of what you create and what you tolerate. So confronting people can be a challenge, because what I've had on my team, and I've had to navigate around this, and maybe what you've had on yours, is when people use mental health as their reason for being late, not coming to work, their outburst or their attitude or their emotional turmoil. They use the term mental health. And listen, I'm so glad that the mental health conversation has come back into the workplace. I think it's really important. 78% of Gen Z, born after 1995, know someone who's tried to commit suicide. I am their mom, right? A lot of you Gen X people, you're their mom. So it's an important conversation. But just because someone says they're struggling with their mental health does not mean that all standards are lowered. Their struggles are real. No doubt they are real. But so is the reality that their presence is required to fulfill your promises to your families. Okay? So the hard truth about hard seasons is that people still need to show up. Can you support them? Yes. I mean, I have paid for counseling for some of my team members because they need it and they would not be able to get it outside of that. I know a lot of you offer that as a benefit, but you have to bring this into the conversation, because the goal of your mental health is to become stronger. Because if they're physically ill, you're going to be like, are you going to the doctor? Are you getting some antibiotics? Like, are you taking care of yourself? Are you getting vitamin D? Are you eating right? Are you sleeping? Like, you're going back to all these things to get them physically well. But it's almost shameful to talk to people about what are you doing to help your mental health. And they think, just because, they're like, oh, I've got to protect their peace, or, oh, I'm having an anxiety attack, or, oh, I'm setting a boundary here and I'm not doing that. Well, everything that is hard is not trauma. Like, you're not traumatizing people when you ask them to sweep the floor. So you've got to bring things back into clear focus and perspective. Be kind, be compassionate, because again, mental health is real, and I have a heart for that. But I've also seen a lot of deflection and blaming it on, I've got mental health challenges. I'm going to tell you about that with one of my clients here shortly. But I want you to just realize that it's real. And you may have to address it, but it does not mean that just because someone says they're struggling with their mental health, it doesn't mean that they cannot show up to work. And if they need a break, if they need to tap out, they need to tap out. Okay. So let's talk about the diagnosis zone. So if you got your worksheet, and if you didn't get it, I'll drop the link one more time here in the chat if you popped on. So the diagnosis zone, the purpose of this is to identify what's really going on with your team or your culture. So who is showing signs of disengagement or defiance, right? And it should be, sorry guys, it's a typo. It should be, is it overt versus covert toxicity showing up? Now, I want to say, your people who are on your C team should know it. I am shocked, like literally shocked, when I'll go to a conference and I'll have just like the owners and directors, and we'll be talking about like how to tackle challenges on your team. And they'll like spew out all these crazy things, just like you guys did in the chat, all the crazy things, right? And then I'll go, have you had a discussion with them? Well, no. Do they know they're on the C team? No. They should know. They should know, and you should tell them. Right. So, Lori, you said it's your own stress. When we do hold people accountable, we'll be even shorter staff. I'm sure I'm not alone, but staffing has been a challenge. Lori, you're not alone. Let's let that begin. You are absolutely not alone. And truly, that's one of the reasons that we fear holding people accountable. But I want you to hold this truth. You can say what you mean without being mean, right? And just because you can go back and be clear about your vision and your values, and you can remind people like, hey, you're an awesome teacher and the kids love you. The parents love you. And when you're not here, we miss you. And, is there something happening that's keeping you from getting here? Because I want you to be here, but I need you to be here. And if you can't be here, maybe we need to change your schedule. Staffing is hard, But I'll also tell you, a lot of this is around mindset. If you believe that no one's come out, no one wants to work, if you believe that, you're going to stick with that. Maybe you need to do some different things around recruiting. We teach a lot of that in Learn to Lead. That's a big, big chapter on creating an employee experience, from how you're putting your job ads out there, to what your branding is, what your employer brand is, to your discovery process, which is where you're having a discovery call, a discovery day, a discovery meet, where you're really getting to know them before you hire them. And then a 100-day onboarding process that is very clear about who you are and what you stand for and what you expect. So there is a lot that you can do, a lot that you can do. So and again, it's a very, very big, it's a huge module that we have inside of Learn to Lead on creating your employee experience. Lisa, hey, Lisa, how do you know they're a C player? Your people probe. Take your people. This is loosely based on EOS People Analyzer, but you take your roster, and on your roster, does this person line up with our core values? Yes or no? And then just grade them. Are they A team, B team, C team? A team. They're always on. They're killing it. They're not perfect, but they're good. They're dependable. They're reliable. They're responsible. If you would need them to if you trust them to open the building at 6 a.m., they're there. B team, they're buildable. Not perfect, got some room for growth, but they're buildable. They're also the most vulnerable. And your C team, they're a Cancer, and you probably need to say, see ya. How do you let them know if they're a C player? You tell them. You don't have to say, hey, you're a C player, but they need to be aware, whether it's through like your professional improvement or a performance improvement plan, but they need to know, like, hey, I want to call you in. I want you to know these are some things that are good. These are some things that are not working. And I'm going to need you to see, we're going to need to see some correction on these. And again, scripts around having those conversations, but it's a performance conversation that you have to have with them, to just say, hey, I'm not sure if you're aware, but you've missed 17 days since January. Hey, I'm not sure that you're aware, but so-and-so's mom dropped him off yesterday, and she let me know that you seemed a little bit irritated with the children. What was going on at that time? Like, tell them, just say the thing, right? Communicate with them. So that's a diagnosis zone. One of my clients, Renee, she found out that her regional director was lying, okay, about when she was coming to work. Like, said she was doing school visits and actually was not. And they looked on the camera and they're like, hey, you're not here. And when she finally admitted it, when she was busted, she said, well, I was having panic attacks every morning this week, so I didn't leave my house. Well, that is a different conversation, okay? That's a different conversation. If you're that level of a leader and you're struggling with your mental health, have a conversation with your owner, with your boss, whoever your boss is. If something's going on that you feel like you can't ground yourself and get to work, then I want to encourage you, like there's a deeper level. But now I had to remind her, like, yes, it's a struggle, but honesty is one of your core values, and that's a non-negotiable. And the fact is, she lied. She could have said what was going on, but she lied. And that is the problem. And she had to let her go. Okay. So stage 2, the discomfort zone. Here we go. This is when you have to make the hard decisions. I'm asking you to go into your discomfort zone. What conversations are you avoiding because of fear of being disliked, being mean, or starting drama, right? Where do you need to show courage instead of control? How is your discomfort with confrontation holding back the team? Because I will tell you this. Nothing is going to burn a good employee like watching you tolerate a bad one. And the fear of being disliked, my friends, it is real, right? But are you creating safety? Are you enabling dysfunction? Like, if Renee had not let this girl go, she would have absolutely enabled her dysfunction. If you are that deep, if you're in that deep of a mental health struggle, then you need help. If you cannot leave your house, there's a deeper conversation there. So I want you to just kind of do a gut check and say, like, where have I confused kindness with avoidance? Okay. Kindness versus avoidance. So the people probe, one of my big clients uses the people probe. And when we did this in a workshop, we found out they've got several schools. 30% of their team was on C team. 30% of their whole workforce was on the C team. And their directors at their schools had not even had the hard conversations to let these people know their performance was slipping. But you've got to have a plan to coach them up, or you got to have a plan to coach them out. All right, stage 3, This is the detox stage, because I want you to go back and think, what is it going to feel like when that person is gone? Cassie, I'm going to encourage you. It's a fear of them just walking out the door because people cannot handle criticism. I want you to know it's not criticism, Cassie. It's feedback, right? It's feedback. And we've got we have a way that we give feedback, and I teach it inside of Learn to Lead. And if you've heard me teach out loud, if you've heard me teach live, and you've been in a session like this, it's the Glow and Grow meeting. So if you want some inspiration on how to do a 360 loop feedback, shoot me an email and I can send you something on that. But we don't have a lot of time for it here. I'm so passionate about this. We're 45 minutes in. I hope you guys are hanging with me. Are you still hanging with me? Because I could literally talk about this all day. It's a ton of content, but it's so important because my heart so wants you guys to go back and have stronger schools. So are you with me? We may go a little bit over from 3 because I want to make sure we get through this today. But the detox zone, right? Take a look to see what systems or relationships need to be cleaned up. Is there unspoken tension? How have we dealt with root causes, or do we just put Band-Aids on everything? Does forgiveness need to happen? As a person of faith, I believe my faith tells me that God's not going to forgive me if I hold grudges against other people. And I will tell you, and if you know me, Bitter Beth, I struggle with holding a root of bitterness. I don't want to be that person, but when someone crosses me, I can be like, you're dead to me. Let's just clean it up and move on. And I can have no feelings about it. It's a defense mechanism, right? It's a trauma response. But I have trouble with that. And so the times that have happened on my own team when it felt like very deep betrayal, I struggled with it. But I also know that I was only able to get to a next level and embrace and find and attract the person that was meant to be in that role. I had to let go of forgiveness and not being scarred by the trauma that I allowed. Not that they didn't do it, but that I allowed. So keep that in mind. Chris Cross, have you done Learn to Lead? I thought you did Learn to Lead, and you may have that content in your course, but let me know. Okay. So that is stage 3, the detox. So stage 4 is development. Okay. We're on the home stretch here. Stage 4 is development. You've cleared the weeds. It's time to plant the right seeds. Here's where your vision and your values and accountability systems come into place. So what does growth look like for every person on your team? Do you need to have a one-on-one? All a Glow is you sit down together and you say, you sit in the seat of vulnerability and say, where do I glow? Like if let's say Rebecca's my employee. Rebecca, tell me where I glow. What am I doing well for you? And she tells me, I say, great. I feel like I'm doing that too. And I'm also doing this for you. Rebecca, tell me, what is my opportunity for growth? Where do I need to grow? And she can say, well, sometimes your communication is a little bit unclear because I know you're really busy. Gosh, thank you for telling me that. I'll make sure that I'm clear. And if I'm ever not clear, please come back and let me know if you need clarification. Then we go back. Rebecca, tell me, how do you think you glow? What are you doing well? I give her a chance to speak life over herself. And then I get to say, let me tell you all the things I think you're doing well. And then we get to, Rebecca, where do you think you need to grow? What is your opportunity for growth? And then she may say, you know what? I've missed a lot of work. And I'm like, praise the Lord. She realizes that she's self-aware. I agree. You've missed a lot of work. Let's get back on a path to make sure that you're here. So that's all the Glow Grow is. It's a pretty simple way of giving 360 feedback. And Rebecca, you say you feel it's criticism, even when you phrase it more like positive. You have a couple that will walk out. They don't know how to have conversations. Unfortunately, letting them go is not within my personal control. Okay, I'm going to ask you to shift your mind about that. It doesn't have to be a ride or die conversation. It can be a conversation about, hey, I need your help with what just happened, but first I want to get your perspective. Or, hey, is everything okay? It's how you frame it, because all I'm going to say, whoever is in charge of that, that's going to continue to grow if it does not get addressed. And if it doesn't get addressed, it's going to continue to be toxic. So signs you're tolerating that toxic, you know what it is. If you have high turnover, but you're not sure why. If conflict is avoided at all costs. If it's a they are dominating the dynamic on the team, figure out who they are, right? Accountability feels mean instead of necessary. I've seen several of those comments. And guys, I believe them too. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I'm just saying that could be a sign that you're tolerating toxic because you feel that you're being mean. I want you to say out loud with me this: I can say what I mean without being mean. You can do it, but you're going to have to do something different. You're going to have to reframe your idea about that. And we avoid those hard things. The truth is because you don't want to be back in the toddler room, right? Yes, you're afraid of losing families and staff. You want to be liked. I saw one of you guys say that in here. You lack clarity on what to say. You're like, I don't even know how to say it. Like, this is so bad. I don't even have the words. Guess what? Go ask AI. ChatGPT will tell you, right? But if you're lacking clarity on what to say, and then sometimes leaders were never trained in navigating conflict. And that is something that we do work with in Learn to Lead, is that we want to make sure that you guys get fully trained in what does that look like to navigate that kind of conflict. I'm going to give you this BRAVE framework right here. Let me just find that slide real quick. Okay, here it is. Maybe take a picture of this or write it down in your notes. Breathe. Before you have this conversation, breathe before you confront. Get some emotional clarity. Reflect. What is the real issue and what values are being compromised? Then you address it. Use direct, compassionate language, and you name that behavior. And then you do a values check. Tie it back to your team's core values and shared missions. Hopefully you guys have that on your team. You know what your values are. You know what your purpose is. And then elevate. Set a higher standard and invite them to rise to it. You deserve more than a team that just wants to create drama and you just have to show up to work and tolerate it, right? I want you to have the courage to be brave and call out what is toxic without creating the conflict around it, right? So I want you to go from enabling to empowering. And truly, guys, if you are feeling this, you're exhausted from doing it all by yourself, you're stuck in underperformance, and you're ready to lead without the drama, I hope you feel like today was the right place for you to come. It is possible that when you clean it up, there's going to be more clarity. You're going to get stronger buy-in from your staff if they are your right people. You're going to have healthier retention and a culture that feels good again. And if you're ready for more, like I said, that's just a taste of what we teach and Learn to Lead. We do frequent masterclasses where I'll hop on and like pull in a topic and we'll walk through the struggle. We do some live group coaching, but there's also like 35 or 40 trainings with templates inside of that on how to lead your staff, how to lead your school, and how to lead yourself. A lot of this comes back to how to lead yourself, right? You were born to lead, not tolerate. So I want you to be brave. I want you to call it out. And I want you to create the culture that your team deserves. So drop any questions in the chat if you have them. I would love to be able to answer them. My friend Sandy, she sent her leaders through Learn to Lead, and I've done a live leadership retreat in her team. We did a leadership retreat, and I helped her identify a toxic leader literally in real time at the retreat, spiraling out. And we were able to coach that person off. We were hoping to get her to stay, but we ended up coaching her off. So the doors to Learn to Lead are open. I'm going to tell you guys, give you guys some information about that. It's just BethCannonspeaks.com/Learn to Lead. We're doing a summer cohort. So what that means is you're going to get to pick your path. Like anytime I've ever done it before, I've always done it like we're going to work on yourself. We're going to work on your school. We're going to work on your staff. Because summer is short and it's so, people coming in and out and coming and going and leaving and going on vacation. And some of you just need like specific pieces of it. For example, like you just need something to say, hey, I need to work on myself, or hey, I need to work on my team. Oh, hey, I see Kim on here. Kim knows, right? Kim, you went through this and you were really struggling with leaders. And I hope that you truly were able to level up and go back and have those hard conversations because it was not fun. And Dana, okay, Dana, I'm going to tell you something. I would like to see your face. The last place I saw your face when we were in Hawaii together, Dana. Dana is a boss. She is the CEO of the largest child care provider on Hawaii, on all of the islands, and she's got an amazing leadership team. And she took all of her leaders through Learn to Lead as well. They were a little bit salty because we have our group coaching calls at like 11 a.m. Central Time, and her people had to get up at like 5 a.m. So that was a little bit rough, but you know what? They did it, and I was so proud of them. Shelby, you did learn to lead recently and learned a lot. I love that. See, it works. Like if you do the work, it actually works. I promise you, it will work and it will make a difference. So yes, if you want to get started today, we did just do an orientation on June 3rd. I'm going to do another one not next week, but the following week. But once you sign up, you can get in and you have immediate access to it. You have lifetime access to it, right? So if you're like, I don't know if this is the right time, you have lifetime access to it. And then if you've done it before, so I see a lot of names who are on here who have done it before. You guys can come back in again. You still have access to the course, you still have access to the Facebook group, and you still can attend any of my live trainings. So in my live group coaching calls, we get a little bit deeper. We make them a little bit more personal because we're face to face, right? The webinar style is a little bit different. So Learn to Lead's $19.97. We have a few coupon codes left. If you use Save 300, it takes it down to $16.97. But then if you go back and you add your people, it's only $4.97 to add like your whole leadership team. So that might make a difference for you. The more people you have, the less it is. Let's see. Oh, okay. Tonight, you had so much fun. I love that. You're working on your onboarding, and Enneagram is your buddy tool. And thank you for calling me Bird. I don't know if you guys know. So for those of you who don't know, I just had my first grandbaby. His name is Bo. He is precious and perfect. I get to see him tonight. I'm so excited. But Bird is my nickname for my whole life. So if you've ever noticed like the bird in my logo, there's that picture behind me that my daughter painted. That is my nickname. So that's why Bird is my grandma name. So we are doing this thing all summer long. It's going to be open, wide open. If you want to hop into it, if you have any questions about it, I would absolutely love to answer your questions. Love to help you through. Oh, and Kathy Cameron, I see you on here too. He's the cutest. Thank you. Kathy's team also did Learn to Lead. I didn't realize how many of my alumni were on here for this. And thanks for the shout outs, guys. I didn't know you guys were coming today, but obviously you saw that we were doing this, and it is a topic that is still near and dear to our hearts. So there's lots of bonuses. Like I said, you got the group coaching calls. There's tons of templates, crucial conversations, training for your teachers, a recruit refresh workshop. You get 24 hours of continuing education. And then of course we've got a Facebook community as well. Oh, thank you, Chris. Jumping in for more of the recorded trainings. I love it. Yes. And you and your team are welcome to come on anytime, Chris. You guys are welcome to circle back. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Oh, hang on. I just missed an FAQ. We are done with today's training. If you are more interested in Learn to Lead, I want to give you guys some FAQs. The recording is going to be coming out, so you'll see the recording. But it's not just popping on a training and being like, oh, I got some nuggets. And if you got nuggets today, I love it. I love to drop the nuggets because I am a consumer of content, and when I can hear something that shifts my mindset or helps me think in a different way, I want it. I'm a learner, and I think it is so important. And so if you're ready to learn to invest in this, I usually say about 3 to 5 hours a week. If you focus on your block time and finish strong, you will be able to do that. Oh, hey, Jillian. Thank you, Jillian. Jillian did this as well. And so I'm so glad that you and your directors came to the training as well. And Christine, I'm so glad that you got lots of nuggets today. But when you pop inside, you'll see it looks just like this. You'll see videos. There's also audios. If you're like a podcast listener, you can download a workbook, but there are a ton of lessons, and they're short, bite-sized trainings, but there's also some application and implementation. And so Karina, on the price, if you use the code SAVE300 for one person, it goes down to $16.97, and that is for the summer cohort, but you have lifetime access. And then every person you add is just $4.97. So like Jillian came in as the owner, and then she added, I think Jillian, you have 2 directors, I think, that came in underneath you. Dana had the whole squad, but it just depends on how many people you have on your team. The more you have, the less it is. So there is a group registration discount. So you get to actually save $1,500 for the people that you bring on for later. And then if tech stuff overwhelms you guys, don't worry. As we have already established, I'm Gen X. I'm no spring chicken. Tech is definitely not always my thing, but all the tech that we use, I mean, the course is super easy, right? You can get on a computer and log on and watch videos. You download all the templates. They're in Google Sheets, Google Docs. We've got some Canva templates, lots of Canva templates. If you like Canva, you just download those templates. And then Trello. There's some Trello boards that are in there as well. That's the project management tool that we do. Oh, thank you, Kathy. I appreciate that. And I love that your team came. Kathy and I have actually done it. She lives close to me. We've met each other a ton of times. And I've had the privilege of doing a leadership retreat with her mastermind, y'all, in Big Sky, Montana. I mean, these people went crazy on their mastermind. Big Sky, Montana. What a fun place to go. And then finally, what if you missed a week? The coaching calls are recorded. You have lifetime access, a private Facebook group, and you can jump in at any time. Ask me questions. And like I said, for those of you who are alumni on here, you've got the whole gamut of courses and trainings to go back and revisit at any time. So you will always have access to those things. So Learn to Lead is open. I would love to have you guys, if you need deeper support and you would like to have me help you out on your leadership journey. This content, guys, is something that I have really been working on. There is a culture crisis in ECE, like I said in the beginning, and it's concerning to me because I love ECE so much. I love what we do. I love our industry so much. And if you do nothing, if you never see my face or hear my voice again, I want to just remind you, if you're the leader at your school, you are the culture keeper. And if you're not the key leader, send this recording to someone who can listen. Because if people put up shields, blaming, shaming, crying, the mental health shield, whatever the shield is, because they don't want to be held accountable. And so I see a lot of you on here who are truly struggling because of fear. And it's the fear of loss of control, right? You're afraid if I tell them they're going to quit and we're already going to be short-staffed. Number one, if you believe that is even more reason for you to fire them. Or let me reverse that. You're not going to fire them. They've already disqualified themselves. I never say I'm firing anyone. My language is that I always say you have disqualified yourself. But you trust that person with a child? Like that person can't even be asked about their attendance, but yet we trust that they're not going to snap when they're with a child, or snap with a parent, or get or be so disconnected from their job that safety and supervision is now no longer important to them, or they're going to be so snarky and nasty that they're going to, and I saw someone said like leak confidentiality. Like that's a legal issue. That's a legal issue. So you can say what you mean without being mean, and that's okay. But if you want to bring them in, have a conversation and just say, hey, this is what's working. This is what's not working. And this is what I would love to see change. How do you need support? Are there more places that you need support? Stacy says you release them into their destiny. I like to release them back into the universe. Rebecca, you say you're not going to tolerate toxic anymore. Okay, Rebecca, I want you to write that on a Post-it note and take a picture of it next to your laptop and send it to me. And then the next time that you call me and tell me some stories, I'm going to text you that picture of you tolerating toxic. So that's your charge. Chris, the People Probe, it's just your list. So think your staff list. Okay, you got your staff list, your roster, and then across the columns, what are your core values? And if you don't have core values, we teach that in the whole Leading Your School. And I forgot to say, guys, next week or the week after, I'm trying to figure out what a good time would be. I'm going to do a summer of systems where we're going to talk about playbooks and how to implement systems in your business, because a lot of the issues you're having, it's not necessarily an employee problem. A lot of it's a systems problem. So we are going to be teaching that later in the summer. So be on the lookout for that. But a big system that you need to have are your values, right? So if a value that you have, let's say, is joyful energy, and you have someone who's got a bad attitude, it's okay to say, hey, here's Julie. Here's Julie. And Julie does not have joyful energy. Another one is we lead with integrity. Julie's missed 17 days since January. That's not integrity. We also have, we team up for the kids. That means that we help out wherever we're needed to help. No, Julie is like, I only teach this and that's all I'm going to teach. So she's not leaning into any of our values. And then is she A team, B team, or C team? And again, A team, always on. If they were going to leave, you would drop to your knees like a toddler being left at childcare for the first time and cry. B team, they're buildable, but they're vulnerable. And then C team, you need to decide, are they a cancer? Do you need to say, see ya? And do you need to coach them up or coach them out? So you just take your staff roster and you go through that and you just analyze, okay, who is on my team and do I trust them? Pam, absolutely. We cover core values. That's a huge, it's not just your company core values, but when we do the lead yourself, we do what are your personal core values? Like what are the values that you have that you bring? And they hopefully will line up with what the values are of your company. Or no, you do not lead the whole leadership class before doing the manuals to modules. They're two separate things, Christina. That's a good question. So they're two very separate things. If you're doing manuals to modules, that's just getting your onboard ready. That's not a part of Learn to Lead, but you have got to do it. Like you, please don't go into the next school year without having some sort of recorded training, whether you use my training or something else. You want to make sure that you have that. Okay, Stacy. I think you have a lot of directors shielding the employees because they have a fear of being short-staffed. What I have to remind them is, are they still short-staffed? Or so what are you really protecting? That's a good point. And Stacy, remind your people that if you're, I'm assuming you're talking about your directors, they're the carrier of that culture. Is that the kind of culture that they want? Do they want new employees coming in and seeing what's tolerated there? Or do they want to be on a, the cream rises to the top, right? I mean, you want to have an elevated staff. That's what that BRAVE framework is about. The E is elevated. You guys deserve teams that don't act like that. So, keep that in mind. And, Casey, you mentioned it's hard when the applicants are few and far between and the whole onboarding process takes time. Casey, you are not wrong. You're not wrong. I would ask you how much of your onboarding is automated, because if you're having to have grown-up story time every time you hire somebody, yes, that's taking a lot of time. So when my employees are hired, and we're remote, right? So our company Stretch and Grow, we go into preschools and we do enrichment classes, right? We're an enrichment program. So they are remote. So I don't often see them in the onboarding process because we don't have a facility that they come to because we're all mobile. So I created courses, a series of webinar trainings, just like what you're watching here, with quizzes based on our culture, our compensation, our curriculum, our connection, and there's 5 C's. And so I created training courses around all that. So they're watching my videos, they're seeing what our culture's like, they're seeing what our core values are like. They've got these quizzes that they're taking. So I'm able to monitor what they're doing, what they're learning. And then we have a very specific, once they can be in the classroom, once they're cleared, we have a very specific onboarding process. And so in our schedule app, we use Sling for our schedule app. There's like, okay, it's your day one. This is what you're expected to do on your day one. So when they get that shift application, they're like, bam, day one, I'm doing this, and that. Yeah, make those videos. I'm telling, because then it's done. You fix it and forget it. I have my entire onboarding process automated. I literally go into my CRM. I assign them a proposal. They sign their contract. The back end, this is a little more tech, uses Zapier and some other things to assign them their courses. We assign them their curriculum that way. We put them on our email list that way. Everything is done automated. So anything you can automate, delegate, and eliminate, that is what you want to do. And so, but keep hiring. Do something different. Post a different ad on Indeed. And then don't just be posting ads on Indeed. Your Indeed ads probably need to be paid, which I know we hate paying Indeed, but you want to pay it to turn it back on and bump it up. Go through there. Make sure, do you have bold? Do you have benefits? Do you, are you using bulleted? Is it easy to read? Run your job descriptions, run your job ads through ChatGPT and say, you are an HR professional who's recruiting childcare coaches, childcare teachers. Please redo this job ad and give me the most high converting language that you can find that is going to get people to open on Indeed. So use AI. And then big thing. Don't you dare say, come into my school and fill out an application. And let me tell you why. These people, and this is a stat from Indeed, are applying to up to 25 jobs a day on Indeed. And guess who's going to win them? Not you, because they're not coming to your school. And don't come at me and say, well, Beth, I need to see them. Well, of course you need to see them before you hire them, but you need to make sure that you first of all, screen them and make sure they're good. So you send them immediate, hey, let's jump on a Zoom call. Find out if they're a good candidate. Hey, fill out our application. Are they taking initiative, to get that job? So do Zoom calls. All of your initial discovery calls need to be on Zoom. That way you can weed them out. Once you see them on Zoom, you see, okay, they're a good fit. They've got a good resume, or they've got some decent experience, or at least they can tell you about a time they enjoyed working with children at the very least. Then bring them in. But don't say come in and fill out an application, because 0 people are going to do that. And if they do, 18 other people have probably given them job offers by the time they're supposed to show up to your door. So just keep that in mind as well. So I want you guys to just be able to take a deep breath. I want to remind you, you do not have to tolerate the toxic anymore. I want to remind you that you can call it out and that you can clean it up. And I encourage you, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. These are people who work with children. And the fears that you have in your mind, a lot of times it's that false evidence appearing real. And guess what, guys? If they walk out, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. You can't believe there's no one coming to save you, and you're never going to hire another teacher if you lose this crummy one who has a bad attitude and who's hateful. So you deserve a team that loves you, and you deserve a team who is going to be nice and kind to each other. Thank you, Andrea. I always appreciate you coming, and I hope you got lots of good takeaways. So I've talked 12 minutes longer than I told you guys that I would. So, but anyway, I just felt like I needed to give you guys a little bit more today. I feel the heaviness coming through the screen. I feel the heaviness that a lot of you are really, 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 really struggling with toxicity on your teams. So a few solutions to it, right? If you want to do Learn to Lead, that's a great way to get access. I also do live leadership retreats and live team building. So if that's something that you're interested in, feel free, go to my website, grab a spot on my website. I would be happy, or grab a spot on my calendar. I'd be happy to chat with you guys. And then maybe I'll see some of you guys this summer. Let's see, this weekend, I'm going to Virginia Beach. So if you're, I'm going to be doing the Head Start convention in Virginia Beach. I'm going to be doing a franchise owner retreat in Houston. I'm going to be doing a Dallas director retreat. So I saw some of you guys are in Dallas. I think, Amy, I think you're at the Dallas Zoo. I don't know if you're involved in this Dallas directors group, but I speak for them every single year. It's going to be on June 17th. And then I'm going to go do Kansas workforce. So if any of you all are like the workforce behind the workforce, like CCNR, any of the support systems, make sure that reach out to me, because I do lots of trainings for that as well. And then, of course, Born to Teach in Houston, California Leadership Retreat, CBG Live, Child Care Business Growth Live in Miami, if any of you guys are going to that. And then every single week in August, of course, is loaded up. I'm going to be in 10 different states in August, guys, doing leadership retreat and team building. So lots of things planned going into the summer, but I do want to teach you guys about systems at some point in the summer. So if you're, be on the lookout for that, because I'm really passionate about helping you guys, giving you some systems and things like that will help you. So thank you for being here. Thank you for coming and hanging out. I hope you got some nuggets. Go back. And if you have those hard conversations, come tell me about it. I want to know the hard conversations that you have. And I want to know if you were able to help turn that rig around. So bye, everyone. Enjoy your week.